Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best at the multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett, Real Estate Success DFW. I've got a fun opportunity today. We're doing a podcast, and the podcast today is with Dylan Hernandez. And ironically, he and I actually have connected outside of the introduction that got him onto the podcast. I'll talk about that in a little bit. How are you, Dylan?
I'm doing great. Overall, it's a beautiful day. Can't complain. What about yourself?
I'd say it's an above average day for me, for sure. Well, thank you for jumping on. So just a little context. Dylan and I actually did a transaction about a year and a half ago, and I'm starting to find more often when I start having opportunities of interviewing and bringing people on that have had a lot of success, I'm finding that I see them in my past transaction. And this is actually one of the cases, and it worked out because I don't think we yelled at each other at the end. Everything worked out just fine. You know, sometimes they don't always work out because I've got to fight for my client, you got to fight for your client, and sometimes the interest is too far apart to be nice. But that situation, it worked out perfect. Everything worked out great. The seller was cooperative, which I was selling. We brought the buyer was cooperative. So it was good that we did have a good experience together. He got connected with me by Tyler. Tyler is a superstar lender out there. He's connected me with really high-performing agents. Dylan is one of the ones that he absolutely wanted to make sure had the opportunity to get on, and I'm so excited for that. So that's actually how we ended up getting connected, and just so happens we did a transaction together. Where I always like to start is a little bit of your background. You know, you've got real military on your shirt right now. That's probably going to lead us into some type of military background, as well as being invested in helping people in that space. So let's talk a little bit about where you come from before you got into real estate. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, right out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I decided that for me, starting my adult life, if you will, in the military is a good way to kind of learn how to be a man and also serve my country, which were two things that were important to me. And so joined the Marine Corps straight out of high school, and from there, I didn't look back. I thought that was going to be my career for the next 20 to 30 years. And did that, got to do and see a lot of fun stuff. I did 2 back-to-back boat deployments. It's called the 31st MEU. Floated around the Pacific, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Philippines, stuff like that. And then from there, I had another deployment out in Turkey. Fast forward 12 years in the Marine Corps overall, and one of my last duties was a drill instructor, and then made my way into afterwards God led me to a different path to real estate.
So how did you get into real estate? Did you buy a house and have a realtor, and then that kind of started the ball? What got you into real estate?
So when I was actually a drill instructor in the Marine Corps, during drill instructor school, we got a class from a realtor in the area named Anthony Glenn. Shout out. You might have actually heard of him. He's with EXP as well. He's running Cardone Vets with Grant Cardone. But anyways, he would teach us each class of DI school students about real estate investing, utilizing the VA home loan and stuff like that. So I purchased my first house when I was a drill instructor, and I kind of saw the benefits of owning real estate. And then whenever I felt like God was leading me down a different path away from the Marine Corps, I decided that, I want to get into an industry where I can help other people and still lead and teach, which was something that was really important to me in the Marine Corps. And real estate was just a great avenue to kind of lead into and take what I've learned from the Marine Corps and utilize it in the civilian world.
Yeah. So it's from someone you bought a house. Did you actually buy a house from him?
Yeah, well, from one of his agents, but yeah.
Okay. So he was teaching classes about getting a home loan, getting a military home loan, a VA loan, and the benefits of doing that. And then from that, you saw the opportunity in real estate, and the importance of real estate. You probably weren't even expecting to get into real estate at that point. At some point, the trigger happened. Did you just decide that helping other people in that space is just a calling that you had?
Well, so for me, buying that first house was like a big step. I was terrified to do it, because California, all the houses were, almost $500,000 and higher. And so for me, I thought that was going to be impossible for me. So I went through the process and saw what it was like. And then I started to see the appreciation, see the value in owning real estate. And so I started getting into the real estate investing side of things, of learning about it. And so as I started to think about what I wanted to do in the transition, I just saw that real estate was an opportunity that not only could I help, build my own investments and stuff, but also help other people and learn the benefits of it as well.
Sure. I mean, you've talked a little bit about this, but how do you see your time in the military as a real benefit for you in helping other people in this space?
So other people as far as clients or
Oh, yeah,
agents?
clients. Yeah, other clients.
Yeah, so when it comes to the things I learned from the Marine Corps, I mean, like I said, I did a lot of things. I was a martial arts instructor, trainer, I was a water survival instructor, I was a leadership instructor, drill instructor, and so on and so forth. So I did a lot of instructing and a lot of leading. And so I was able to use kind of the attributes I got from that, the attention to detail, the leadership, to be able to guide other people and empower them to do things. And so I was able to take those attributes into this occupation, to where when I'm helping people out, it's just like if I'm leading or teaching other people when I was in the Marine Corps. I'm able to teach them what I've learned and what they can do to be successful in their home purchase or home sale. And also, if there's any type of issues, in the Marine Corps specifically, we're taught you don't come to someone with a problem unless you already have a potential solution. And so utilizing little lessons like that into my career has helped me when it comes to guiding my clients as well.
Well, I really appreciate that for sure, the solution part, because I often we get problems and nobody knows what to do with it. They just have
Right.
problems. And it does use up quite a bit of brain waves when you always have to constantly solve problems for other people. I can see the challenge there.
Yeah.
And I know you and I talked prior to this that one of the spaces you really want to get excited about and promoting, and you talked about leadership, is growing into that mentor, maybe coach,
Mhm.
trainer in this particular space in real estate and working and helping other agents grow their business. Now, is
Yep.
this something you're looking internally within with your own team, or do you want to
Mhm.
branch out and do something beyond that? And is there a particular topic that really gets you excited in this space?
So, as far as between a team and not having a team, as of right now, I'm still leaning towards not having a team, but just helping other people, whether that's through a coaching program or a mentorship program, or just partnering with me here at Real. But really, what gets me excited is helping people learn that aspect of solving problems. Because, like you and I were talking about it beforehand, there's only so many problems that can kind of come up in real estate. Now, yes, there's a lot of them, and and each transaction is different in its own way. But there's only so many aspects within the transaction that can happen, and there's ways that you can prepare for those and teach others to, come to a mutual agreement. And so I like the problem solving aspect. I like being able to take a look at it from a macro and take a look at what can we do in the micro to make this work on both ends, and teaching agents on how to have that perspective. Because I think it's really all about perspective, right? And being able to see, and I think this is why you and I both had a great transaction together, because you and I both understood that your sellers are trying to accomplish something, my buyers are trying to accomplish something, and we as agents are trying to help make that happen. Now it's up to us to try to find what's mutually beneficial for everybody and make it happen.
Yeah. Sometimes whenever, agents bring me a problem, I'll strip it down to the simplest. It's like, hey, do I have a seller that still wants to sell? Do I have a buyer that still wants to buy?
Right.
Then we can discuss, what's the separation, right? How do we cover that separation? And it's just sometimes easier to think about it in really simple terms. We're talking a little bit about where you're going in your direction. What does the future of real estate kind of look like to you as far as transaction, right? We had the big
Mhm.
buyer agent thing blow out in the fall, and I think you and I are in the same market. I don't think it really made a whole lot of direct impact, maybe a
Mhm.
little bit of the paperwork impact, but
Right.
generally sellers are still paying the commission because they're not selling.
Yeah.
This whole thing would be a different conversation if the sellers could put a sign in the yard and didn't have to work to sell. But
Right.
because they can't sell and the market already has the built-in commission for the buy side,
Mhm.
generally this hasn't come up as a big contentious problem. But beyond that, what do you see like the future of real estate, coming up in the next year? We just had the big election, a lot of
Mhm.
uncertainty. What are you thinking?
Well, so I think it's going to be very dependent on how the economy reacts to changes that are happening with the new administration, obviously. But as far as the overall future scope of real estate, I think we're going to see a couple different things. One, I think that we're going to see, and we're already seeing it right now, is when times get tough, only the skilled get paid. And we're in a time in real estate that you're really starting to see those who are skilled in real estate and those who got their license whenever the market was hot and were just getting things fed to them, right? And so that's why we're seeing some drastic changes in agents' production over the years because now they're actually having to have the skills that are required to generate business and continue keeping that pipeline full. So I think that's one big thing that we're going to continue to see as real estate moves forward because now agents really have to have a value proposition, whether on the buyers or the sellers. And not to say that they didn't have to have that before, but now they have to, in my opinion, you have to make it a little bit more known and have it a little bit more distinct value proposition to your clients, because we're in a market where it's definitely changing a lot. And then the last thing, I think that the realtor's ability to integrate with technology is also going to be a big separator as we move forward because the consumers now more than ever they've got knowledge when it comes to real estate. And now it might be service level, but there's still a lot of things that are provided to them. So now for us, like we need to continue to embed ourselves with the technology and our knowledge to be able to provide our clients the best experience possible.
Is there a specific technology you think is really going to be transformative? Or you think that you really, I mean, you talk about technology in general,
Yeah.
we have better systems of tracking things. We have better ways of maybe reviewing data. But
Mhm.
I would think AI has a pretty strong role in this space that most agents are reluctant to
Yeah.
accept and take on. Are you utilizing any of that type of technology?
Definitely. Yeah. So AI, I think, is a big part of the future of real estate. And I think that agents who aren't utilized, so a lot of people are worried, well, is AI going to replace an agent? And I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think you'll ever be able to replace the human element when it comes to the transaction. However, I do think those who are not in, who don't utilize AI are going to slowly continue to phase out because they're not keeping up with the times and the value that comes with utilizing AI. So like just for instance, like with Real, we've got our own AI co-pilot that's able to help us, through the transaction process and everything that we have with Real. And then we're also in the process of creating a consumer-facing AI that they can essentially, it's your co-pilot, it's your assistant. So you can, whenever you and your clients meet up, you can say, hey, here's a number that you can text. This is my assistant. If you have any questions, if I'm not able to answer, this can answer in the meantime, and help you out. So if you're at home, you're spending time with the family, and you get a client that at 10 o'clock at night wants to see take a look at some properties online, they can text that number and it'll automatically go to your website and send it to them. Like those are things that I think is just going to be invaluable in the long run because it cuts down the response time and it kind of helps fill the gap that you might or might not be filling, whether that's, in time with family or times that you just can't respond at the moment.
Sure. It can help, bridge some of the gaps in communication. I think that's
Yeah.
like it can definitely be valuable. I don't see the end of real estate agent need, just not just because I'm in the business,
Right.
but because there's a lot of nuances and how things are done
Yep.
that's different even across, states. And if you're not selling, 5, 6 houses a year yourself, it's probably
Mhm.
good to go ahead and get someone that is.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that you wouldn't do without specific targeted help. This is one
Mhm.
of the most important decisions you make. You definitely want to have someone on your side that knows how
Right.
to walk through the process and
Mhm.
has access to all the resources you don't inherently have.
Yep.
You know, I don't know why anyone would have an inspector or an appraiser or any of these things in your tool belt or,
Mhm.
beyond the lender that did your loan 5 years ago.
Right.
There's options, right? There's ways
Yeah.
that we can solve real estate problems and really benefit the client that you just can't, it's not possible to have access to that information without someone fighting for you on your side. AI can't do that.
Yep.
AI is not relational.
Right.
It doesn't have relationships with all these different people. And if you wrote a contract, I thought about this the other day. If you decided, okay, fine, we're gonna make it a contract-based transaction and then take everything out, it would be a 500-page contract because
Mhm.
it has to handle and address every possible scenario. So you
Yep.
have a complete informative position on when you're going to go from start to finish.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine a seller's going to want to go through that,
Right. Yeah.
trying to work through that. So, there's not a place for it today. One day there may be, but I think we're still pretty far off on that space. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the myths of being a successful agent. That's something that I think there's a misconception of what makes agents really good and
Right.
separates them from agents that don't make it. And, for you, you've been in the business less than 3 years. You've
Mhm.
done, over 70 transactions. And, the average agent full time is probably sitting around 8 to 12, let's call it 10
Mhm.
transactions a year. You've compressed that in where it would take them 7 years, you've knocked it out in less than three. So you've moved fast, and the year you're in right now is already growing really well. Let's tell me about the myths of being a successful agent. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I've summed it up to two major stories that I think that a lot of agents can relate to. You're either the perfect pot analyzer or you're the one-armed judo competitor. And so the first one, and I'm sure you've heard of it, Alex Ramosi, and the story of, the teacher, they divide their class into two different sections. And this one, the first section, they have to make the perfect pot, but they only have one shot. The second one, their goal is to make as many pots as possible. And at the end of the 6 weeks, they have to present the best pot. And they go through it. And by the end of that situation, or by the end of that period, the section that did the most amount of pots presented the better pot. And the reason being is because they continued to just put in the work. They continued to do what is required. And they learned, okay, well, if I do it this way, then I get this type of result. And if I do this, and they were able to make it happen. Whereas the people that just continued to analyze every little thing before they made it, they didn't get the reps in to make sure that they had a good outcome. And where I see that when it comes to agents is a lot of agents, they have that analysis paralysis of, oh, I need to have the best listing presentation. I have to have the best buyer's presentation. I have to get all this stuff together and analyze every single thing. And then they don't do the action. And by the time they do the action, it's far from perfect because they haven't actually got the reps in. So that's one thing that I think is a misconception is agents have to have it perfect at the beginning. The second one is the one-on judo competitor. And essentially, it was a Marine who was his plan was to be in the Marine Corps for, a career. And he ends up getting hit by an IED while he's on deployment and he loses his left arm. And so he gets medically retired. He's not able to be a Marine anymore. And obviously, when you have a plan to be a career in the Marine Corps and now it's cut short, as you can imagine, he got depressed. And so he got out. He decided, well, I got to do something to keep my mind going. So he goes to a judo gym. And that instructor tells him, "Hey, I love my veterans. Would love for you to come join. I'll let you even come train for free." And he's like, "Well, I only have one arm. I don't know if I can do this." And he's like, "Well, don't worry about it." So he's going and doing it for 3 months, 6 months, and finally, and he's only been learning one move. He's learned defenses, but he's only learned one move. And he goes to his instructor and he says, "Well, you know what? I've only learned one thing. I think I'm done with this. I'm gonna, hang it up." And his instructor's like, "You know what? Actually, I want you to I want you to do a competition." And he's like, "What? There's no way. You've only taught me one thing." So he's like, "Okay, well, whatever. I'll do that. But after I do this competition, I'm done." So he gets to the competition. He goes to the first round, and it's actually pretty quick and easy. He gets the submission. And he wins. He goes to the instructor. He's like, there's no way. This is bull crap. They just feel sorry for me. He's like, I need you to teach me something before the next round. He's like, nope, just do what you've been told. Go on to the next round. He goes to the next round. It's a little bit more difficult. He finds his opening. He hits that one move and he wins. So he goes in, instructor. He's like, this is bull crap. These people just feel sorry for me. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Like, I need you to teach me something for the last round. So he gets to the final round. It's a lot harder. He has to do a lot more defense, but he finally finds his opening. He hits that one move and he wins. And he gets done and he goes to his instructor. He's like, I don't even like this win. This is bullcrap. Like they just feel sorry for me. They know I'm a wounded vet. They see I don't have a left arm. There's no way I won this. He's like, how did I win? And his instructor tells him, well, I taught you the defense that you need to keep from people getting you. But the only defense against that one technique I taught you is to grab the left arm. And the reason why I think that applies to agents is because they think that they need to learn all these different things. They think that they need to learn, to spread themselves thin with all these different lead generation activities and all these different things to make them more lethal as an agent, when really they just need to find that one thing and attack it over and over again and combine that with the pots and just do it as many reps as possible to be successful. And I think that is one of the biggest myths is agents that they think they need to spread themselves wide, but they also need to analyze it as much as possible to be successful when it's really the opposite.
Those are good stories. I love it. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really good pieces of information in there because I mean, I've lived it for a long time. I've trained lots of agents,
Hmm.
and it is often they chase shiny objects
Hmm.
or no, I can help anyone anywhere,
Yep.
and they don't establish themselves and they never create a niche, right? I'm sure you've heard riches are the niches.
Yep.
It kind of follows that same model where you really get hyper focused on something. My only subtle thinking for me, the way I think about, growing business is I think everything is always about sphere of influence.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with a niche because I think a niche is something you can continue to grow and add and get
Right.
really good at. But
Hmm.
you got to stay in front of your sphere,
Yeah.
because that's going to be your easiest referral opportunities, no matter, what you're doing or how you're building. And you can be that sphere. The thing that no one wants to do, and this is going to be really valuable, is no one wants to eliminate everything else by niching themselves out. I
Hmm.
don't want to be the new build specialist and post it that way on Instagram or anything because then I won't get pre-owned buyers, right? Or I
Right.
won't
Right.
get investors or I won't. Yes, you will. Your
Hmm.
sphere of influence is going to bring them to you.
Yep.
If you're in real estate and you're solving real estate problems successfully, you're going to get those opportunities and you can tell them yes or no.
Yeah.
You know,
Oops, so good.
Go ahead. No, no, it's your turn, your show.
No, so what I was going to also add to that, and I'd love to see what your thoughts are, is also like I think a lot of people they forget about what their reputation is before they get into the business, and they think that they're going to get their license, and all these people are going to flood them with referrals and all that stuff. But one, like you said, they're not staying in top of mind with their sphere of influence, and two, they might not have had that reputation of being someone who people can trust, know, like, and trust. Because at the end of the day, people do business with who they know, like, and trust, right? And so when you're staying on top of mind with your sphere of influence, if you didn't have that reputation, you need to establish that reputation. And if you did have that reputation, then you need to keep that going on. And I think that's one thing that helped me a lot when it came to being able to achieve, whatever you want to call success, relative success in the business early on, is because my time in the Marine Corps, I worked on establishing a reputation of someone who got the job done, who, whenever I did something, I did it to the best of my abilities, and people knew me for that. And so as I made that transition into real estate, it became a no-brainer for a lot of people. If someone is moving to Texas, which a lot of Marines and military members do, that they would know, hey, I've got a guy in Texas that can help you out. So on the sphere of influence, I think also the thing to remember is if you, before getting in real estate, if you were known as that person who just did the bare minimum and was always complaining about what they did and all that stuff, well, now you've got some rebuilding to do. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but you
Yeah.
also have to consider continuing to build on that.
Yeah. You can reinvent yourself and work with people that don't know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the
Really
beauty
cool.
of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can create your own new identity and be that person for other people.
One of the things that you mentioned was relational versus transactional and how
Mhm.
you have that interaction with clients and things like that. So what does that mean to you, relational versus transactional?
So I think when it comes to relational versus transactional, it's really how you interact with the client, like is the only time you're talking to them, relating to them buying and selling a house, or is it actually connecting with them, finding, whether it's about their family, their kids' events, if they've got a vacation, seeing how their vacation went, just having a legitimate relationship with them and being detached from the outcome and detached from any income that you might receive from working with them. And I think that really changes people's perspective of you when they can see that, in my opinion, it makes them want to work with you even more, and they're okay with that, with whatever, commission or whatever that you're worth per se, because they can see that you're there working for them as for who they are, not just because of what they can provide monetarily.
I like the language detached from the outcome or income. I think that's a fantastic way to kind of think about it, right? I mean, you and I are similar. I mean, we help people anyway.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving advice. I don't mind helping others. I don't mind helping people, you know, and honestly, and this is something really hard for agents to swallow and get over. People closest to you are probably not going to use you for real estate. They
Yep.
will the very first one because they have nothing to lose. But
Hmm.
when you're doing this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I'm 20 plus years into this.
Yep.
The people closest to me are still not going to use me for real estate. And you
Yep.
can't take it personal. I love them. I want to care for them. I want to give them advice. I want to make sure they do the right thing. And I understand that we're probably just too close.
Yeah.
And it could be they don't want to know your finances or they don't want to get, they don't want to hurt our relationship. There's all kinds of reasons. But
Yep.
anyway, that's just a thought that I want to share with you because agents still think they can all work their mom and brother and sister. And I'm telling you, often it's called the law of familiarity. The closer you are to them, the less they can trust you in that space.
Right. Well, and then on top of that, the one thing that I also tell agents who get upset about that stuff is the one way you can guarantee they'll never work with you is to get mad at them for not working with you,
Yeah,
or make them try to feel guilty for it. And so, like any type of situation, I've had plenty of times where whether it was a friend or a family member who have used another agent or whatever the case is, and I just wish them well. Hey, that's awesome. So I saw you just bought a house. It's super excited, and they'll reach out like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but hey, look, like." No, I'm legitimately happy for you. Like, if there's anything that comes up and you need help with, don't hesitate to reach out. But, I'm excited for you, whatever. And just show the genuine care behind it because a lot of people, they just get bitter and like, well, I have my license. And again, that's a way to guarantee nobody wants to work with you because you just get bitter.
that's right. Last thing I think you wanted to bring up or have a conversation about is agent mindset and focus.
Mhm.
And this can go into a lot of space, but I'm going to give you some kind of freedom. What really comes to mind? We're talking about agent mindset and their agent focus.
Well, so when it comes to overall the agent mindset, I think that a lot of people they have a mindset that, so for instance, like when someone asks me how I'm doing, just like when you asked me in the beginning of this, like it doesn't matter if it's the gloomiest, rainiest day, I've had a horrible day. It's another beautiful day, can't complain. What about yourself? Because there's actually studies that show like your perspective on your day, on your life, of how good or bad it is going to directly correlate to your actions and the way that you go about your day, right? Which falls into your future success or lack thereof. So I think the mindset that a lot of agents have that life is happening to them instead of them controlling their life and their actions is why we see such a low rate of success when it comes to real estate because people they get into it with the myths that we talked about before. They're going to just get into the business and business is going to flow to them. When it doesn't happen, it's poor me, the market, this, that, and the other. Instead of having a mindset of knowing that, hey, it doesn't matter if there's a market crash or the market is booming. There's opportunities, closings happen every day regardless. And just your actions just have to mirror what you're looking to accomplish. If I'm wanting to be, a $1 million GCI earner, well, I need to be taking a look at the actions I need to be doing to make that possible. And if I'm not doing those actions, well, I have no one else to blame but myself. But the problem is a lot of people have this poor me mentality. And I think that's the reason why a lot of agents fail.
It's totally true. And I know a lot of them are in the doom and gloom right now, right? They get the
Mhm.
headlines, it's the lowest transaction count in 30 years in real estate last year. And they
Mhm.
get a hyper focus on that. And those things affected me, so I had to pivot.
Yeah.
I moved to new construction. The last 3 months of the year, I did 20 transactions. They were
Wow.
all new construction. I had to pivot,
Yeah.
and that created the opportunity for me. And it worked out well for me because it allowed me to put more energy and time into the podcasting, as well as, developing some good quality training and coaching things to help agents growing their business. Man, it's been fantastic, Dylan. Do you have a good way for us to connect with you? Are you on Facebook? What's a good way to connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram right now, but they can find me on all social platforms at _Dylan Hernandez. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and then on Facebook, Dylan Hernandez Realtor. I'm on all social media platforms. I'm always down to help people out and just like yourself, like it doesn't matter if they're, on my team or part of my organization or even part of the same brokerage. I'm here to help anyone, whether they're clients or agents.
Sure. I'm a little jealous I didn't join the military. I'll be honest with you. I know I say things kind of in a way that people don't think about it that way, but I am. I wish that I would have had, that time there. I did a corporate job for years and I may
Yeah.
not have gotten into real estate. Who knows how things would have worked out, but I do wish that I had some of that coming out of college and focused on getting discipline and getting certain things in place, and I think it would have been a lot more beneficial. I'm real disciplined today, but I would have really benefited, 20 years ago, the discipline, right? And it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I don't regret it, but I do wish that it was an opportunity for me. And it does affect on your demeanor and how you approach things and how
Mhm.
people can trust and know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And that makes a big difference. I know Dylan, I've gone through a lot of his Instagram. He is very heavy in there and he'll talk pretty honestly about what's important to him. So you're not going to have to, see him in one space there and he's something different outside of that space. So I think that's really important to be authentic. And the YouTube channel is something you did want to promote. What's unique about the YouTube channel?
So the YouTube channel is something I'm still working on right now, but it's a mixture of kind of something similar where I'm collaborating with other agents and kind of just networking, right? And the other side of it is just bringing value to buyers and sellers. So for me, like my tagline is my name's Dylan Hernandez, Marine Corps veteran, turned real estate professional, and help my clients and agents dominate the real estate industry. And because that's what my focus is, whether it's my client, whether it's a client that's buying or selling a house or an agent that's helping others buy and sell houses, my goal is to be able to provide content and just overall perspective to help them do that and dominate.
All right. Well, it's been a great interview. Thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Until next time, until our next transaction, or maybe we see each other in the school platform.
Yeah.
This is another episode of Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett. Thank you for jumping in, and I appreciate you watching. For more podcast information, just like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.